Our clients are at different stages of dealing with the recovery and resolution planning process. All of the largest banks in the world, the 29 so-called global systemically important financial institutions, or GSIFIs, are supposed to produce plans, but different regulators are at different stages of imposing their requirements. Banks are facing a number of challenges in addressing the RRP process. Probably first is the sheer scale of the process for a large bank. They're having to look at the entirety of their business, work out which functions, which business lines are critical and which are not, and then carry out a very extensive due diligence process for those critical functions. Another challenge for our global banking clients is the fact that they're going to have to comply with requirements in different jurisdictions, all of which vary slightly. Another challenge is that the way the rules require businesses to be analysed is completely different from the way they actually run their business. So the rules require, for example, investment banking business to be divided by product line, whereas in reality, banks don't look at the business in that way. And so drawing out the information and answering the questions in relation to particular businesses is a real challenge for them. There are a number of benefits. Probably the most important is avoiding regulatory action. Regulators either have at the moment or will have power to impose additional capital requirements, a so-called resolution buffer, if they think that a bank is too difficult to resolve or there are too many obstacles to resolution. Similarly, regulators will have powers to require banks to change their structure or to change the way they do things if they think there are barriers to resolution. There are also a number of other benefits. A number of banks have told us that the rules require them to look at their business and the way they're structured in a way that they haven't had to do before. And so a lot of very senior people are telling us they're learning things about their banks that they didn't know previously. A third benefit is that banks are looking at their contract structures and their arrangements with suppliers and using this opportunity to review their contract database. Our banking clients are at different stages of having to deal with the recovery and resolution planning requirements. Our largest clients, the so-called GSIFIs, the global systemically important financial institutions, are supposed to produce plans by the end of this year. But regulators are at very different stages of imposing detailed rules. In the US, the UK and Switzerland, the authorities have introduced very detailed rules with very prescriptive requirements for these plans. In other countries, for example France, Italy, Germany, the regulators haven't really imposed any detailed requirements at all. And so our banking clients are trying to work out the precise scope and extent of the plans, and that's something we're helping them with. In Europe, the European Commission has introduced a draft directive which will introduce or require the introduction of resolution regimes across Europe and impose requirements on all banks and all large investment firms to produce plans, but those won't come into force until 2015. We're already starting to talk to a number of our other clients about those requirements, even though they're a couple of years away.